This week's Parashat Pinchas, we pick it up where we left off last week, the aftermath of all the destruction that unfolded because of that evil duo, the king Balak, Melech Balak, and the evil Bilam, the evil prophet of the non-Jews. They joining together of the tribe of Midian with the tribe of Moab, led to Bilam's evil plan to get the Jewish men to sin with their women. And ultimately, we learn in our parasha that Zimri ben Salu, the leader of the tribe of Shimon, he takes the bait and he sins with the Midianite princess Kozbi Batsur, leading to the greater sin of many more Jewish men with the Midianite and Moabite women that ultimately leads to the death of 24,000 Jewish men from a plague, until Baruch Hashem, Pinchas steps it up and he kills Zimri and Kozbi. He spears them in the makom of the Milah where they were sinning from, and he saves the day and it stops the plague. And then this week's parasha starts off where Hashem praises him, Hashem blesses him with the Brit Shalom, a peace covenant, and he uplifts him up to the status of a Kohen. So in the past, we focus on the story more from the Pshat and Midrashic level, focusing on the terrible sin of Zimri, what he was doing wrong. But this year, I want to take an almost 180 and look at a mystical tradition made famous by a few Hasidic commentators, based on Rav Chaim Vital, that looks at Zimri's sin from a more positive perspective, or it looks at the sin from the perspective that he was trying to actually do something that was proper, that was correct, but he did it in the wrong kind of way. So originally, actually, I was planning to go through Rav Moshe Wolfson's Dvar Torah, where he speaks about, where he makes the case so strongly for Zimri that he then has to explain why was Pinchas correct in killing Zimri. But when I started looking into the backstory to just give us the background before we even start Rav Moshe Wolfson's Dvar Torah, I realized we have a whole Dvar Torah just discussing who was Zimri, what was he all about, and then Bezat Hashem, in future years, maybe Jose will return to the Dvar Torah of Rav Moshe Wolfson. You'll find similar ideas in the Me'as Shiloach and other places that will speak about Pinchas's angle in what's going on. But Bezrat Hashem, I want to focus in this Dvar Torah a little bit on the background, or the mystical background of who was Zimri and what was he supposed to do and what did he do wrong. And then Bezrat Hashem, in future years, maybe Zocheh, V'od Chazon Lamoed, will return to Pinchas and what he was all about. Okay. So there's a rabbinic tradition that notes that this head of the tribe of Shimon, Zimri ben Salu, we've never heard of this guy before. Like, where did this name come from? Zimri ben Salu? The last time we had a long list of names of the heads of tribes, so the head of the tribe of Shimon, his name was Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai. So who's the Zimri guy? So there are a lot of conflicting midrashim. So Shelumiel might have already died. He might have been part of the Ma'apilim. He might have been there's all different history backgrounds. Maybe he was part of Korach's rebellion. But according to different opinions, Shelumiel had died. But there's one approach that says, oh, no, you know why why we haven't heard of Zimri? Because Zimri is Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai. It's the same person, but rather the name changed because the name is going to signify where he's holding in life. And if you actually open up the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Pei Bet Amud Bet, where this Gemara is really discussing Zimri, and it gives this the tradition we want to talk about in this Dvar Torah. Amar Rabbi Yohanan, says Rabbi Yohanan, Hamisha Shemot Yeshlo. Zimri had 5 names. He had Zimri. He had the name Ben Salu. He had the name Shaul. He had the name Ben Hakenaanit, and he had Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai. So meaning 5 names for Zimri, including Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai. So the original name of that we learned in the Torah about the head of the tribe, Shelumiel, that really is who he was. That was who Zimri was. But now, and the Gemara goes on to explain all 5 of these names as negative, that each of these names signify how he sinned. But we're going to take a different approach right now, and we're going to take an approach that the older name, Shelumiel, we're also going to talk about the other name, Shaul ben Hakenaanit, that they might symbolize different stages in this person's life, and stages where he might have had bigger dreams to do better things. Similarly, we find the Baal HaTurim in our parasha has a nice gematria. He says, Shelumiel, his name, is gematria Ze Zimri ben Salu. So another hint that Shelumiel is Zimri. Okay. So let's take a closer look at this name Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai, because it sounds like for many commentators that this earlier name reflected the grand mission he was supposed to accomplish, the level that he might have attained earlier on, but he's losing it now when he becomes Zimri ben Salu. Okay, so first off, the name Shelumiel. Shelumiel is basically 2 words together. We have the name Shalom in there. We have ourselves the language of peace, and then we have the Kel at the very end, which is Hashem. It's an angel name, so he's like the Shelumiel, the angel of peace. It really is a beautiful name to it. We're going to see that, because he's going to mess up, Pinchas is going to get the Brit Shalom in our parasha. So it seems to be that Shelumiel was supposed to reach this level of Shalom, or whatever that was supposed to mean, but ultimately because he loses it, he gets his name changed. So we're going to need ourselves a Pinchas to be the one to get that instead and make the tikkun. Okay, so that's the name Shelumiel. Now, what about the name Tzurishadai? So Rav Chaim Vital notes that Tzurishadai also has the name of Hashem, and there has the name of Shaddai. And then it also has the word Tzur, a rock. Now, in the past, we gave a Midrashic Dvar Torah a couple of years ago on the word Tzur as it relates to Kozbi Bat Tzur. And Kozbi is this evil woman, this evil Midianite princess that Zimri sins with. And we contrasted her name, the Kozbi Bat Tzur, the daughter of the Tzur, the stone, the daughter of the rock, to the Tzadeket Midianite convert, this righteous Tzipporah, Moshe's wife, who's going to save Moshe Rabbeinu that night in the hotel with a Tzur, with a stone, that she's going to use to do the Brit Milah of their son. And we have these themes of the Makom of the Brit Milah, the word Milah, the Tzur in both stories, and between the Moshe and Tzipporah versus our Kozbi and Zimri. And you can check out our Spotify back a couple years ago, 5782 on Parashat Balak. But now we see that Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai, Zimri's earlier name, also has these themes in it, and it also has this concept of a tzur. It also has the rock. Now, what about the name Shaddai? So Rav Chaim Vital notes that what is this? What does the name Shaddai symbolize? He said it's a language of shoded. Shoded means a robber. Sheshided kol ma'arechet klipot, or shoded kol hakochot, which means that he steals all the klipot. He steals all the evil energies. Shaddai is the name of Hashem. That's a power to remove all the negative energies. It absorbs it, it removes it, so that it can't harm us. And he says that's also a reason why on the mezuzah we write the name Shaddai on the mezuzah, because it's going to protect us from the evil forces outside from coming into our house. So for those of you that are rational thinking, we're going to go in a more mystical idea right now. Mekubalim explained that the word mezuzah is a language of zaz mavet, the same letters as death go away. It hints us back to the first mezuzah, the blood on the doorpost back in Egypt, where the malach hamavet, the angel of death, was coming to make a balagar, and the name Shaddai on our mezuzah stops this evil. It absorbs it. It protects us from going around. So that's the name. Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai was supposed to accomplish this of removing or gathering in, to be shoded, to steal into himself the negative kohot in Kozbi Batsur. And if he would have been able to soak it up properly, it would have made a proper tikkun. But he did it in the wrong way. He did it bit yisur, meaning what was he supposed to do? He was supposed to convert her first. And because he did it in the wrong way, it turned out to be a very big sin, as opposed to be a big fixing of something up in the heavens. Now, what was he supposed to fix? So it comes along in Sefer Afikeyam. This is Rav Ovadia Ya'avetz quoting a sefer called Nefesh Yehuda. So he says as follows. Amru Hazal, the rabbis taught us, Zimri, who Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai, as we've been saying, Sheken Timtza Shelumiel begematria Zez Zimri ben Salu, as we saw in the Balatorium. Okay. Amru Hazal, Gimel Dvarim motzim et ha'adam min ha'olam. And Hazal told us that there are three things that make somebody leave this world, make somebody die: Hakenaanit, jealousy, v'ata'ava, desire, v'akavod, and honor. Ilu zacha Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai haya shoded kol haklipot umachnian. If Shelumiel would have done the right things, he would have been able to be, as we saw from Rav Chaim Vital, he's like paraphrasing Rav Chaim Vital, he would have taken away all these klipot, all the negative energies, and subdued them. Sheken shemo morelav, because his name, which has Shaddai in it, would have shows you that's what his job was supposed to be. But because of the jealousy and the desire, because he wanted to be this great leader. We spoke in the past in that Midrash from the Gemara that he's trying to make himself better than Moshe. I'm the head of the tribe of Shimon, which is the third of the children of Leah. He's only the head of the tribe of Levi. So there was this kavod and kina and ta'ava issue. So he says, because of that, bimkom tzur de kedusha, instead of the holy rock, nichana letzur de klipa kozbi batzur. He himself became subjugated. He became lowered to the tzur of klipa, of negative, of yetzer hara, which is kozbi batzur. But it was supposed to be his job to soak up and bring to him the negative energy inside of him. Because really, Kozbi she was supposed to be a convert. She was supposed to join the Jewish people, and he was supposed to make a tikkun with her, because it says the name Kozbi, Kaf Zayin Bet Yud, are the first letters of Kozbi Zo Bat Yisrael. She really has the source of a Jewish neshama, of Bat Yisrael, of a Jewish girl. And who? So he explains, Vihi Gilgul Dina. The mysticals, the Mekubalim, they say that Kozbi is a reincarnation of Dina. Dina, we know, was Leah's one daughter who sadly was raped by Shechem ben Hamor. But since he desired her, he desired her right now, and he didn't stop to convert her. When we talk and through this whole jealousy and anger, he was with her too early. Zimri, Rabat Yahorah. He says because of that, his name gets changed. Now it's a negative name because he was going after the kavod. And he made her mutar when she wasn't mutar, and therefore he gets this terrible, terrible death. This death of being speared in the makom milah to bleed out from Pinchas. But he should have been an ish shalom, like Shelumiel, his name says. And if he wouldn't have sinned, he would have been bringing peace between the Jewish people and Hashem. He would have made a big tikkun. And to realize how great his essence was supposed to be, he says, and the Torah is hinting to us about how great he was, his great level, because it says, Vehine ish mi bnei Yisrael ba. Because when he started to sin, it said, a person from Bnei Yisrael. V'lo amar ish mina am. It doesn't say a person from the am. The am, according to Kabbalistic idea, is always the Eruv Rav. It's the more negative name, but Yisrael is the holy name. He's called an ish mi bnei Yisrael. And even after he was already hit and he died, even after the sin, they still gave him the same name. Shneimar v'shem ish Yisrael hamukah, because he's called, and the name of the ish Yisrael is Zimri. He's still called an ish Yisrael. Why does he still have the status of Yisrael if he sinned so bad? Because he got a kapara. There was an atonement because of the great Yisurim that he got from this death from Pinchas, the great suffering that created a tikkun for the enjoyment that he got. B'shem ha'isha muka he gilgul Dina. As we said, she's a gilgul from Dina. And basically by her terrible death as well, there was a tikkun and the zohama from the snake of Shechem, meaning the Dina was raped by Shechem. They called that the zohamat anachash, similar to Chava. And I saw other sources bring Dina back to Chava, and then she's going to come back again as the daughter of Yiftach to make a further tikkun in future generations. But Cosby and Zimri do make a bit of a tikkun. It was supposed to be done in the positive way, but through Pinchas killing them in such a terrible kind of way, it led to a bit of a tikkun right now. Okay. So there's a lot of deep stuff here, but note that the mystical tradition places Cosby as a Gilgul of Dina. And as we're saying now, Dina was raped by Shechem ben Hamor. Now, I was thinking also the whole Hamor name, that's also, if we're comparing Zimri and Cosby to Moshe and Tzipporah at that night in the hotel where Tzipporah does the Brit Milah on their son. So over there as well, we have ourselves a Hamor that Moshe was riding. So we have the same themes going on over here. A Hamor entering the Jewish people. We brought a tradition down that son Moshe was giving over to Avodah Zarah to make Yitro happy, to make him try out all religions till he comes to Judaism. That was a mistake. He wasn't. So you have these ideas of entering the Jewish people, of making a proper brit, of doing a proper conversion process. Tzipporah does it right, Cosby does it wrong. So we see similar themes in these two stories. But what happened was the great Zohama that was put into Dina needed to be fixed, and it was supposed to. We said even in the past, Dina is the same letters as the word Nida. So we said in the past that Dina herself was a bit of a tikkun for Avraham Avinu's mother who had sinned while she was in Nida. So she came back as Dina to get fixed. And there's actually other sources that take Dina back to Chava itself with the Zohamat HaNachash. So there was supposed to be a tikkun taking place through Zimri. Ultimately, it's going to take place through their death through Pinchas. Okay. Now, I was thinking that maybe part of the tikkun of Dina being raped also took place with the child of that rape. According to one midrash, the child that was born was Osnat bat Potiphera, who's ultimately going to be sent off to Egypt. She's going to marry Yosef, and Yosef, being the tikkun of the Yesod, the tzaddik, the kanai, who protects the brit, he's going to make that tikkun as well. So I'm assuming that part of the tikkun took place over there as well. And then we know at the end we'll get back to Pinchas' connection to Yosef a little bit as well. And then, as we said, it sounds like Moshe and Tzipporah in that hotel were also doing some kind of a tikkun. And I actually saw some interesting gematria that tried to link Moshe to a tzur of Kedusha as well. We know Moshe Rabbeinu himself is going to ultimately mess up by hitting the tzur. Actually, you're supposed to hit the tzur. He hit the Sela, but you also have the tzur and the Moshe and the rock connection as well. Okay, but now we're learning that Shelumiel was supposed to make that tikkun with Cosby, who had come back as a reincarnated Dina. Now, in the language of Rav Chaim Vital, you find it in other Mekubalim as well. They speak about the sin of Zimri being with Cosby as a language of he ate from the fruit before it was ripe. So I saw this in Rav Chaim Vital, the name of the Arizal, in the Kitvei Rav Chaim Vital. I also saw this in Sefer Meshech HaParashah from Rav Meir Cohen. So he writes, "V'hi bat zugo," that really Cosby was supposed to be his wife. There was a tikkun that was supposed to take place, but shachla paga b'adayin lo hayta re'uya. But what was his mistake? He ate from her before she was ripe. She was the fruit that wasn't ready just yet, and he was supposed to wait and to convert her and then marry her properly. And this language over here is hinting to us back to the original sin of eating from the fruit of the Etz Hadat before it was ready. As we said in last week's Dvar Torah, that the Etz Hadat, according to one opinion, was wine. It's the wine of Kiddush, but they drank it on Friday. They were supposed to wait for Shabbat. And the same idea was that the mistake of Adam being with Chava on Friday before Shabbat, they were together too early. And this now is going to be the same mistake of Zimri with Cosby. He was supposed to wait and push it off until she would have gone through the proper conversion process. And you also have in the background over here, I think there's a little bit of background of the Eshet Yafat Tor, of that, the woman of war that you take in, that you're supposed to make a tikkun on her. There's an idea over there, you're supposed to shave off all of her hair and then wait and then convert her properly. In our story, Zimri pulls her by the hair, doesn't cut it off, but he takes her by the beautiful hair in front of the Beit Din to say she should be mutar to me right now. So again, part of the sin over there, I think, is Eshet Yafat Tor. I was also wondering, if we go back to the Dina story, can we also say over there, is there an Eshet Yafat Tor, like a little bit in reverse, where they took Dina into their house, they took a Jewish daughter into their house, and they're having her wait to try to join their family. But then the brothers come in and say, okay, then you guys have to convert. You guys have to do a Brit Milah, which would be the male way of joining in. But now let's try to take it one step even deeper and a little bit even more wild, because we saw in our Gemara, and it's awesome to see that you have a Pshat in Gemara hinting to some of the deepest mystical secrets. But Zimri is also known as Shaul ben Hakenaanit. Now, who is Shaul ben Hakenaanit? So Hazal teaches us that Shaul was one of Shimon's sons. He opened up the Torah, one of Shimon, that's meaning the head of the tribe of Shimon, the original, the OG Shimon, the son of Yaakov. One of his sons was known as Shaul ben Hakenaanit. Shaul, the son of the Canaanite woman. Now, who is this Canaanite? So the rabbinic tradition is the Canaanite was a code name for Dinah herself, who was raped by Shem, the Canaanite, and therefore, because of the Zohama, because of this impurity that went into her, she gets the name Canaanite. So Shimon felt bad for Dinah after she was raped, and no one was going to marry her. She wasn't going to leave the house. There's no Jew would ever marry her now until Shimon would take her for a wife. Now, Dinah is a language of Din. Shimon himself has a midah of Gvura and Din in him as well. So don't ask me how this stuff works in halacha. This is a brother and sister from the same mother and father. This is pre-Matan Torah. And I don't think we should take this stuff as literally. I think it's much more for the deeper mystical ideas that are involved. But it's an actual midrashic tradition that Shimon is the one to marry Dinah. So now, if Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai is Shaul ben Hakenaanit, then that would mean that Shaul ben Hakenaanit is Shaul ben Dinah, but it's Shaul ben Dinah and Shimon. So meaning Tzurishadai would be another name for Shimon. And now this makes a lot of sense, because Tzurishadai, we said, is this name of Shaddai that takes out all the evil energy. It soaks it all up. And that's what Shimon is doing with Dinah. He's trying to make that fixing of Dinah. And I saw this written openly in Sefer Amudei Shiva from Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg. So he writes over there, Vehine mofiash b'midrashim. It says in the midrashim, Zimri ben Salu, hu Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai, same person. Nasi Shevet Shimon, she was carved the Chumash that we mentioned earlier back in the Masaot, back in the Korbanot. He's the same guy. The Cosby harehi batsur. Now Cosby is the daughter of Arak. Echad Malchei Midian, one of the kings of Midian. Open the Torah here. If you have a vast knowledge of all the names, look throughout Sefer Bereshit. You're going to find names and names. So over here, she's the daughter of one of the kings of Midian, but known as Tzur. And he says also, Mevuar b'Kitvei Arizal, Shetzur avi Cosby hu leumat zeh shel Tzurishadai, who is Shimon. So she is Cosby bat Tzur. And now Zimri is Shelumiel ben Tzurishadai. But this is a Tzur with God's name in it, because Tzurishadai is a name for Shimon, who himself was holy. And what was special about Shimon? That he was Shodet Kol HaKlipot, the name Shaddai. Shimon's job was to bring in all the evil energies. I mean, he was supposed to fix the evil energy in Dinah. And how do we know that's his job, to fix the evil energy? Because the Pasuk tells us when he's blessed, what's his job? Klei Hamas mecharoteim. Their job is the Klei Hamas. What is Hamas? Hamas is to be Shoded, to steal, to bring it in. He's bringing in those evil energies. That's the Klei Hamas of Shimon. He's the one supposed to make the tikkun. That's Tzurishadai. So we have ourselves, Zimri's father is a rock. Cosby's father is a rock. We have the two tzurs. So he's a ben tzur. She's a bat tzur. And not only is it, and she is also now a gilgul of Dinah, and he is the daughter of Dinah. He's the son of Dinah. So meaning we have ourselves this deep connection. Both, he says, gam mitzad ha'av, gam mitzad ha'em. These two are connected spiritually in their neshamot. He actually writes they have an ach and achot energy over here, which again is the Shimon and Dinah energy over here. Again, it's mystical ideas that I don't fully understand. But we have ourselves, they're cosmically connected, both from their father and their mother's side. But again, what was his mistake? His mistake was he didn't wait. And if he would have just waited, if he would have just given it more time, gone through the proper process, and have her go through the full conversion process, that would have been the full tikkun. But instead, he doesn't do it, and therefore we have to have Pinchas. Pinchas is the one that's going to step it up. Pinchas is the kanai. Pinchas hu Eliyahu. It's the same koch of Eliyahu Navi, Mashiach energy. So we thought that Zimri was trying to bring Mashiach energy by fixing up Cosby. He didn't do it in the right kind of way. So now Pinchas is going to step it up. In the past, we spoke about how everybody called Pinchas the Ben Puti. They were making fun of him, but we said, who is Puti? So there's two traditions. That one says Puti is Yitro. And again, Yitro is, he also is somehow married to one of Yitro, his father, or through generations. There's a Yitro connection, which again, Yitro is from Midian. So he himself has this Midianite in himself, but in the holy kind of way. Because you need that Midianite energy to fix the sin with these Midianite women. And the other tradition of Puti is that it relates to Yosef, the Putiel. And that, again, back to Yosef, is the pillar of the midah of the brit. This, again, is the brit. It's not giving into the women, Eshet Potifar. It's the fixing Bosnapa Potifera. And Yosef connects to Shalom, connects to brit, connects to he's a Kanai as well. And ultimately, you have this Yosef Pinchas connection that you always find, with the Ushpizin on Sukkot and that whole connection. Ultimately, Pinchas is going to make that tikkun. He's going to fix the brit. And B'ezrat Hashem, in future years, maybe we'll return to Pinchas and try to go a little deeper into how he did it and what that was all about. Shabbat Shalom.